Right, are we ready to begin, gentlemen? Okay. I've already powered the machine up because occasionally it wants to do updates every now and then, so I got to this point without you. The login for easel is right on the middle of the screen, you can't really miss it. We've gone down the easel route because it's very easy. If you have experience with this sort of stuff, there's nothing to stop you bringing G-code to a different system, which we can talk about later. But easel is dead easy. Get something out fairly quickly. So we'll fire up easel. It takes a minute or two. It's an online system, so it lives in the cloud. So it can just take a minute or two to get to its happy place. I got a row for already mounting this down, but obviously when one is cutting, one needs to mount this extremely securely. There's a mixture of clips, there's little finger clips to hold it down and flat end clips to hold it, and these are all threaded, so you can usually find a place.
There's a box of different length screws for different thickness materials. Honest job.
Oh, there is, yeah. So there's various other bits and fittings there.
Washers and things.
You intend cutting all the way through, this is a sacrificial board. It doesn't have any threads in it, but it matches up with this. So to save making divots in the base of this, please use that. I can always generate more of those if necessary, sort of thing. So I'm not going to cut right through, this is pretty chunky, so just going to go with that. Login, it's a shed account, so the login details are already in there and shouldn't get forgotten, but you haven't noted them and Hamish hasn't noted them if necessary. So at this point, continue.
The password?
It's already in, it knows it, so it's going to remember it. The downside to it being a shed account is all your work is here.
Yes.
So it is up to you not to overwrite each other's work. Or destroy it, or whatever.
I would suggest file naming it with your name
probably
at the beginning.
Something sensible.
You know, Sandy Box.
You have a labelling. Once you get there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new project, which is these are obviously playthings I've been doing up until now. So a new project comes up, and immediately it calls it untitled. I think the first thing you do is you click on that and give it a name, which I will call CC Demo.
What was that? You said you click on that.
Sorry, you click on the. It comes up on. I'll do another one. Hang on a minute. New. Whenever you do a new project, it comes up untitled here. So the first thing I would recommend you do is click on that and give it a name. Untitled. Click on untitled. It's covered in the notes as well. So.
Is there a maximum number of characters?
I haven't run across it yet.
Usually only 250 or something.
Probably
on the laser cutter. We wanted people to put their full name in.
You can have folder structures with the laser cutter, which you can't with this. But
no, just so that people know.
No.
You know, like Jim's project, there could be 3 or 4 Jims.
Yes.
So it's just a wee bit hassle at the beginning.
I mean, there's too many all the same. You're going to get quite a reasonable number. I think it'll be 250, so you could probably do what you want. You can also label things. So if you created a label, you could put your own name in as the label, which might be sensible, because then you see when I go back to the beginning. Yeah, no, that's not what I want to do.
No, you're okay.
If I go back to the start of all of them, I'm not sure where the labels show. Yes, you can then. It's labelled that one as mine because I put my name in the label. So you might want to discuss a file sharing naming structure amongst yourselves that works.
There'll be plenty of catastrophes.
Oh, I'm sure there will be, yes.
Why did you do that? And who deleted my work? And
the other thing you can do, if you come along to this and someone's work is showing, you can make a copy of work. So if you're going to start doing something and you don't want to either overwrite one of your own things before you redesign it, make a copy of it and start again so that you're starting from a known point rather than untitled. But that's kind of up to you guys. I'm not just going to teach that level of stuff. So anyway, my demo, I've got a nice blank screen. This is my equivalent artwork area, and this is what you'll see, sort of
that's the
demo
equivalent
of what it looks like.
This big brown board. The main
board, yes.
Work area.
So you've got. Don't lean on that, clearly. Or lean on. Down the left-hand side, you've got a variety of tools. So you've got shapes you can draw, and draw lines. You can do text. It's also got a library of little pictures, which, if you really want to get carried away, you can put little pictures in. Just for the sake
this
of
is all part of it being an online program.
Because
all of this artwork and fonts and everything is held in the online. You can just use them as you want and desire.
Again, same idea, a whole lot of fonts. If you click on the text one, it comes up with what text do you want to use. It's limited in the fonts that it's got because they're coded. It's not like using TrueType fonts in Word or anything like that. You have to use these fonts because they're coded how this works.
They work.
Yeah, as we're slowly discovering. Again, once you've got your text box there, just remove the word text and put in what you want. I'm keeping this very simple. Clicking on things brings up this little floating menu which lets you move things around. You can scale it. You can either scale it by actual size if you wanted to be precise. Oops, maybe not that size. Oh, come on. Where's my zeros going?
Undo.
There we go. Or undo. Scale it in by grabbing it. I'm holding the control key down so it stays in proportion. You can also unlock and lock, or if you just grab it, you can do horrible things to it. Come on.
So you basically just drag and drop the bits around the screen. And what you'll see is what appears on the left-hand side is mimicked on the right-hand side to show you what it will kind of look like when you put it on the wood.
Doesn't like what I'm doing, so I'm going to delete the bird because it's going to cause me too many complications. So I'll just leave the word owl. That's simple enough for just now. Generally speaking, start at the bottom left-hand side is its 0.
It reckons the origin for the board is right in the bottom left corner. You don't need to line it up with that, but it always thinks from there
up the way. And obviously you've got a nice grid on it, so wherever you put your material, if you want it to be absolutely straight, you should use your phone, my dear. Yeah, okay. Right, once you've got your artwork or whatever you want to put on it, you've got cut settings, so whether you want to make it 2mm, 5mm, whatever deep you want, whether you want to know, with text this is less critical, but you can cut obviously a shape. So if I had just a simple shape in there, at the moment it's cutting a complete path, a complete clear out, but you could do just an outline round something. So again, that's up to you guys to decide.
So if you decide a square, you can either cut it just the edges and leave the middle intact, or you can scoop the whole lot out. But that takes longer, obviously.
But you can put
Okay,
things.
have a question.
Yep.
The word owl,
Yep.
all the letters look blacked out or greyed out. They're thick. Could you put O as it is there and change the W to where there is just the outline?
I think so. I would need to experiment.
Just to let us know.
Yes, this is where the nitty-gritty of easel I'm not so familiar with.
You could certainly do it by creating each of them as individual letters rather
Yes.
than as part of a word.
I think you're right with that.
Good.
Yes,
That's good.
because
That's probably simple.
you're close. It will depend on the size and type of the font.
Oh, you've done that there.
I've done it there by
How
changing
did
that.
you-
That's the cut path here. I've changed the cut on a shape path, but it will depend. As Kenny says, you may need to do it in individual letters. I'm happy. That's lucky because it's quite simple lettering.
Yes.
If it was complex lettering, it wouldn't like it. So there's a bit of a learning exchange there.
Everything you're doing on the left is mimicked on there, and sometimes you think it's not showing. That's because it's decided
I
it
can't
can't
do it.
it.
Yeah, if I was to reduce that down, it'll go. Ooh, I'm not kind of sure about that.
And it will show this
Yeah.
bit's
And
missing,
if you-
and it's just because the tool just can't cut that.
You have interesting text effects if you really want them. I was just going to change. If you change it to, and you start giving it funny characters and things, it starts to get a bit unhappy. Actually coping not too badly, but it's not totally. So you just need to check what it's doing. If it really hates it, it'll go red, and that's like, can't do this. And as we're learning, some materials will take better cuts than others, so it's very much a combination of how it all goes together. I'll just leave owl there and I'll just take that out of the way. So once you have your wonderful text, design, house name, whatever you fancy, this area is where you do what you're cutting on.
This is all covered in the notes as well, if you can't see it clearly here. There's a few copies there, but I'll also put a PDF of it on the user group so that everyone can download it.
So I've got it, I've got it set birch plywood. I'll change it to MDF, and it's 18mm because I happen to know that. And obviously you can give it its dimensions, which I'll do as well because I haven't done that.
So you have to tell it what the wood is what size the wood is and how thick the wood is. And that goes into the little dimensions box.
And that just allows you to see what you're doing. This is obviously quite a big bit of wood, but
and then what that does on the right hand side, the sort of mimic of the bit of wood now becomes the size and shape of the bit that you've clamped to the, not the full worktop,
yes,
but
it's
your
now
actual work area.
that bit with my
So
tiny
whenever
round.
your artwork appears, shows you where it's going to cut it on the bit of wood.
So if I was to move it around and stick it in the middle, if I wanted room around the outside or put it back down there.
How do you determine the distance from the bottom left-hand corner?
Your choice, depends what you want. If,
In the artwork.
You said this
come-
is the initial starting
no,
point.
he confused you with that slightly.
Come to that.
We'll get to that in a
first,
minute,
yeah.
and my lovely assistant was slightly.
Just take it a
Just
step.
can't get
I know, it's
yeah.
just terrible. So I'm going to take it a little bit away from the edge. Okay, you would also define your bit. Now I know I've got in that one a V bit, which I'm just going to use for this anyway. There are a selection of bits.
One of the
And
boxes.
one of the that's mainly that one and that one.
Where did you define the bit in?
Same place, just beside you've got MDF wood and you've got bits there,
Okay,
and you can
okay,
pick the
that's
bit.
fine.
Not all the bits that are here are in there, so you also have the option to do custom bits. So you
And
need
also,
to
not all the bits that are in there
are there. So you
Have
need
we
to be a
bought?
little bit alert to
Yeah.
what you need, and obviously feel free to buy more bits. So pick your bit and again click off it. It's interesting if you go. I'll just very quickly go for a 6mm really horrible one, and it's going to say, "Oh no, I can't use that bit." So straight away you see that it can't manage the W with that particular bit. So it does give you a hint if
Yeah,
the wrong
yeah,
bit's
yeah.
in. This is why this is a better system to start with, I think. So it's a 60mm V bit that's in just now, which seemed quite good for lettering. So we're going with that. Actually, how deep did I make the cut? One, yeah. A bit quicker as well. You can add additional bits if they're not showing in the drop down. And it will now, at the moment, it comes up with caution, Inventables hasn't tested this combination. Well, yeah, because we're using a combination of all sorts of stuff. So you'll just need to work out, it's a wee bit like laser cutter next door, work out what works. And it tells you, you can also manually override the plunge rate, spindle speed type settings, but at the moment I'm going with automatic because it's easy. But again, there's actually some notes here which talk about damage if you want an upcut bit because it's pulling bits out of it and doing all
It's
sorts of things.
horribly
So many
complicated,
variations, yeah, I'm not covering all that. So once you've got to this point, you've designed your owl, you've got your board down, and this is where it gets a bit more interesting. We get to turn on the machine because this now needs to talk to this. Main on-off switch is also covered in that. Is that one? Still quiet at the moment. And the spindle control button, the lever should be down at logic. Is it logic? it's called?
Logic,
Yeah.
yeah.
That way, this is controlling the spindle. There are times when you might want to have it on all the time,
Turn
but
it on and
this will give you a rough idea what the noise is like. So that's why we're wearing hearing protector.
yeah.
Okay, so it's on. So hopefully this machine has found it.
Good sound effect, mate.
You click on the far right little button here, the green one, and that brings up the control of the machine now.
Just as a matter of interest, if you don't see that box, it's because the computer hasn't recognised the box. In which case, the blue cable, just pull it out,
Stick it
push
back
it
in
back
again.
in again.
Good old tried and
Recognise.
tested,
Yeah.
restart it, yeah. This lets you then control, I'll just move it around
Yeah.
a little bit more than that, what the head's doing. So this is where your lining up to your start point comes. So in this instance I will line it up with 0 because but if I wanted to do something different on my wood I can choose where my 0 point is effectively.
So this is a sort of a nudge control. You can nudge it 10
Yeah, 10 or 1 or custom.
10
Or 0.1.
millimeters, 1
0.01.
0.1 to, so you just select the
You
10.
just select
Now,
here.
caution, warning, 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 caution, caution. This machine does not have limit switches, which means if you're parked there and you tell it to move left by 2 feet,
It's going to go clatter into the edge of
it will
that.
crash into that and rip the hell out of the belts.
Also,
because
if you've got things holding things down that are higher than the wood you're cutting,
it'll
you'll
bash
clatter
into
into
the
that. So
knobs
you
and
do
things.
need to be a little bit alert.
So it's a dumb machine.
Has
It
that
has
been
no
tried and
safety.
tested?
Not 2 feet.
Has that been tried and tested? Yeah.
No, but when we received, yeah, when
Yeah,
we
you-
received it, we got a load of, and I thought, oh, excellent spare belts.
No, they're all wrecked.
These were all wrecked ones that someone had tried to move it beyond the physical limits, and it just chews
And it's
the
quite
hell out of
brutal.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
when it gets going.
That's why this has to be screwed down really tight.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, it will just.
So how do you limit it then when you're going to get it going?
You just.
You just tell
watch
it
it.
and watch it. Once you've set, assuming you have to be in control. It's not in control of you. You have to make sure what you have there is right. The speed, everything's in
So-
the right layout.
Yeah. Obviously, if you're this close to the edge, you don't tell it to move 5 centimeters at a time or 10. You use 1 centimeter or 1 millimeter at a time. You see, just use it, nudge it. So.
How
How
far
are
down?
you doing that?
I'm clicking on these buttons here. I've got X, Y controls here. I can change how much it moves by. So I did want to go scooting across somewhere. I can.
One click.
One
you move.
click moves it that far because I changed that to 100. If I go back in tens, then it's much more controllable.
And then
So
you can do ones, and you can do point ones.
And you can do 0.01, believe it or not,
Oh,
which is a
right,
bit.
oh my God, right.
Yeah. Okay. So let
you
me.
do all that before you use it.
Yes, get it all lined up because you're going to need this bit later on. Can you give me a shout when I get to the edge? Or close
one
enough.
more. Right,
Okay.
okay, that's it.
Would it be sensible to start not near the edge?
Well,
from your
as
first
long
time?
as you're aware that that 0, on the drawing is the 0, that you're starting at. To me,
Yeah.
right?
That's it.
Okay.
You set ground zero.
So you're
So,
setting it basically, yes.
Basically, what you're telling the machine is that is the bottom corner of my
Of this
bit of wood.
particular job, yes.
Then,
Okay, then bring it down
same thing.
until it's just
Ooh,
touching.
your big chunky lumps there. Half
That's
half
one
of that.
mil. Okay, let me come down.
Okay.
Okay.
It's just touching the wood.
So it's just touching, and that's your kind of start point for getting noisy.
So now the machine knows where the bit of wood corner is, how big the bit of wood is. So it now knows
that 0 matches where
that
it is.
0 there.
So it's quite happy.
That's why
So
I'm
that's not where
confused
the
with
O is
that.
going to be. That's just
The
where
O
the-
is going to
that's
be
where
just
the-
in, yes, because I've obviously got space round about it.
So you
However
put
far
it-
you've moved it
If
in
I move
on
it
the screen,
Right
Okay,
across
we'll move
here,
it over
it's
here.
going to go
all the
right
way
across there, which I
Okay,
don't
so-
want to do to waste the wood. I'll put my O back there. When you're comfortable, all that set, and you've triple checked it, click on the big green button this time, and that brings up this wizard which just takes you through confirming everything basically. So yes, we're happy the material thickness is good. We're happy it's secure. You are happy that's secure.
Well, I wouldn't say otherwise.
Because the wife
even
put
if
it
I'm
in.
trouble as it is.
I'm happy I've got the bit in. Now we get to the noisy bit very soon. I'm saying use new position because that's the new position I've set as my work 0.
So you have to set the work 0. That's it, letting the machine know everything's ready to go. We're at the 0 point. Time to get.
And it says almost ready to cut. Raise the bit, so it wants you to raise the bit, which it does.
It does that automatically to say, right, I am now ready to go.
Turn on the spindle.
you tell it how deep to make the
Yes, I told it in the this bit here when I had the owl selected. I told it just to go 1 millimeter deep. But obviously you can go
But
as
you
deep
told
as you
it
like.
that,
Yeah, I
okay.
told it that. I didn't want it to take 3 hours
Yeah.
to get that
Yeah.
down there. So yes, there's a huge combination of how deep and MDF is, meh, and you know
But
the
that's
combination.
You have to do that.
Yes.
Okay, to get this out the way, either
I'll
use
turn it. I'll nudge
the
it up.
nudge, or you can just literally turn the power off.
Okay, we're done with it just now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so turn the power off.
That then unlocks all
So
the
you can
motors,
move it by
so
hand.
You can just gently
Don't
move it by hand.
rattle it up and down too fast. But
And let me, I'll just
Just take
very
the
briefly
gunk out of
soak
it.
all the guff off it.
I'll take it out.
MDF you're cutting.
It's just MDF,
So
yeah.
you've got to be a bit careful. with
It's
it.
just
Right.
cheap or something we had lying around. Yeah.
Two
people here that want to work the
Just the dust.
Well,
I
no,
have done it.
because
on
if,
my
you're,
own.
if you're sitting there, you're not doing anything. So once it gets going, you can, the
Yeah, I mean-
operator can come and work.
Yes,
do
you
the
don't
thing.
need to sit at the computer.
Eventually, I can find the right plans. I'll 3D print a hood that goes over and holds that or
Something
an
immediate.
equivalent
Yep.
over the cutting.
MDF is
so
right,
it
okay.
suits all the, so you don't need to do anything.
It'll travel around with it.
It'll
Yes,
travel with
that's
it.
the
Yeah.
plan.
Can it cut plastic?
Yes.
Can it cut brass?
I don't
Probably
know.
no.
No, not that it's
I know, yeah.
plastic, wood,
Aye.
MDF, laminate. Yes,
Metals would be
I think
yeah.
that's probably. You might be able to
Aluminium.
engrave on the surface, but you wouldn't be able to cut. It's not powerful enough for that.
Not with that spindle on it. No, I mean
You can upgrade the
Yeah.
motor to a heavier
can
duty
get a
motor.
Makita head
You need
for
to
it,
also
things like that, which are
upgrade the
better.
belts to a bigger, thicker belt, so it's got more punch.
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Amazon.